more professional. Hey, everybody.
Start now.
Welcome to Two Fools Rushing In. Haven't done an intro in months, but I think we're going to get back to that because the show's gaining some popularity and branding matters. I am Jeff Bookman.
I am Chad.
There you go.
I'm not.
I'm Ray Warren.
Oh,
Perfect.
love it. Love it. Oh.
All right. Now, you guys remember that we are
I'd like to talk to you guys about identity theft.
Oh,
Yeah?
Go ahead, sue me over it.
whose identity are you trying to steal? Whose identity are you trying to steal?
No, he's trying to steal mine.
Who is Ray?
Nobody's coming out a winner no matter whose identity I end up with.
Wait,
Raymond Warren is stealing my identity.
I don't. Well, then I don't hear any complaints from Ray about this.
No, that's true.
Sounds like I can have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't using it.
Anyway,
Plus, you go by Raymond as a preference anyway. So look at that.
yes, Raymond of Frost. Yes.
mm-hmm.
So there we go. But as you gentlemen may remember, the intention this week, because we didn't talk about it at all last week, was some game design.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I sent my notes out earlier.
I do have a question about the game design.
Okay.
Is this
would be
intended
the
to
time
be a
for it.
real? Is this intended to be a game, or is this a practice in like how you would go about making a game?
I
mean-
I am absolutely 100% on the idea that this is a future product.
If we design the whole thing, we can always reskin it later.
Because there's no
Yeah,
reason.
I think we're gonna have to reskin. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing to think about, though. Like, with the way everything production-wise...
Pitchforks and torches are coming our way.
But no, it's more
Good.
like...
Fucking bring it.
Bad press is good press. To an extent. But no, the with everything being so fucked up on production costs and importing and all that bullshit, and no clear short-term end in sight, there are two options. One, we stop game design altogether, and that's not going to fucking work for me. And I'm hoping it won't work for you guys. But the other option, we keep designing games. We keep prototype. Like, we can still prototype games. We can still play test games. Sure. We can get our shit tight so that when things are finally stable enough that we can start exploring production, we've got a small assortment of things, and we can go, man, what do we want to go with first?
Yeah. I still have faith in CFC.
I do as well.
Or CFC.
Yeah. But that is where we get into this being an exercise. The idea was that this is an exercise for April of Fools.
Okay.
I feel like there should be a 4 in the middle there and not the word for.
The number 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, are we going to call this game The Second Coming and spell coming properly?
No. The Last Goodbye.
Oh, shit.
Because he's not coming. That fucker's out of here.
Well, that's why I put that down as a working title, because it's something Dylan said, and I thought it was funny as hell. So,
okay.
You call it Sunrise and Gomorrah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options. We're good.
Yeah.
So can I click on game design? Okay, I can click on game design without leaving.
That's because the game design the game design channel is text only.
Okay. Is it just one post?
Yeah. So just as a refresher, this may or may not get us some heat. Working title for the game: Get Jesus to the Rapture. But again, I don't even know if Jesus is in this game, and I don't know if we're actually doing anything religious. These are just words we used for our working title. Now, throughout this, I've got like a bunch of stuff in parentheses. Most of that was to give other game references for stuff that we've played in the past to give you an idea of like where that idea comes from.
You're telling me I do need to look at these ideas.
I mean,
well, we're going to go through them point by point, so whether or not you want to read them yourself or just hear them, it's fine.
I mean, you may want to at some point. It's out there for you to look at. But again, so we hadn't really talked about it, so some of this was guesswork on my part to just kind of fill in blanks. For number of players, was thinking like 1 to 5 because that seems to be a pretty normal game setup. 1 to 5, 1 to 6. And I have seen enough games now, enough like board games, like medium weight board games that have a solo play option included that is a minimal addition of resources. I mean, shit, the Into Deep that Raymond and I played a couple of weeks ago, one of the solo play option for that has dice. There is no other aspect of the game that requires dice. It is only for the solo play. I thought that was crazy. Because it's
dice and like a separate deck of some kind, right?
Well, the separate deck is nothing. It was like 6 cards.
Yeah, but it was like basically what is the enemy doing at this time?
Yeah, and that is what a lot of the board games that are doing that do. They've got like cards that set up. It's not it's not a full comparison, but it's the best I got. Like the AI for the game.
Sure.
It establishes the behavior that the game is going to take when you play it.
Right.
So,
like this area is off limits this turn. This area is now active. Like stuff like that.
You know,
or limited set of actions that are available for this.
Or, you know, the characters are going to do X, Y, Z because they can. So, yeah. We had talked about and been pretty in agreement that we were going to use a post-apocalyptic setting of some sort.
So we're thinking the rapture happens after the bombs drop.
I don't see it happening before.
Okay. So just as a fun thing, because you know I do have some knowledge in this area, we could have something in the deck called, or a deck of cards, or you know just something called Trials and Tribulations.
Okay.
Because you know,
I am seeing that as a whole. Not quite to the extent of like the go fuck yourself cards in Dicks and Wizards.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm using coded language that no one in the world is going to understand. Dicks and Wizards is Epic Spell Wars. For folks at home, we just call it Dicks and Wizards because
technically they're all wizards, but some of them are real dicks.
Yes, and
sometimes some of the cards are dicks.
Some of them are dicks. So there's
okay, so before I forget here, for the solo play,
yes,
you could have to complete whatever your mission is before the full seals are opened.
Yes.
Okay. So then,
which gives you like a timer, and then you can do whatever from there.
Well, I mean,
so if you have to speed run the whole board, if you have to do whatever, like we can have those, you know, in the full game too. But like,
right,
that's a nice countdown clock for solo play.
Okay.
And see, when the Trials and Tribulations popped into my head, like I'm not basing my game design ideas off this, but it struck me as a very like chance or community chest type of situation.
Yeah. Okay. That would have been the easier go-to than the Dicks and Wizards rabbit hole.
Yeah. Hey, since we were talking like, the car is going to be like, like, not that we're stealing the game of life or anything, but we had talked about having like a car of things like game of lifestyle.
Well, like having the car and game of lifestyle was where we started, and I don't think anything after that was game of life.
Right.
So,
Right.
are we the people that are like carrying the cross through the city, taking him to the cross, or
No, this isn't the crucifixion. This is getting him to where he's got to be to start the rapture.
Oh shit! Sorry. Okay. My Bible knowledge goes to killing him immediately because I guess it's a wet dream of mine.
Okay. Wow. So
I don't think he was the problem. It was everybody that came after him.
Yeah. He was well, and before him, he really is kind of the like MVP of that fairy tale.
Are we? So, as far as game, like the story of what we're trying to do, are we trying to convince him to come down by like basically make this shit a mess, such big a mess that only he can clean it up, kind of thing? It's like if we break it bad enough, he's gotta say that's it.
So you're saying like preacher style here?
See,
yeah, maybe.
And as soon as you say that, I think with a little bit of hope. What if there was an alternate means of progressing by doing things? I'm using air quotes when I say it properly.
Okay, so you want to be Aziraphale from Good Omens? Did I say that right? Did I say his name right?
I think so.
I always say his name
Michael
wrong.
Sheehan.
Yeah.
I think we could have an idea here where there's more than one way to win.
I like that as an idea.
That way you don't get forced into one thing, and if somebody's super far ahead on one thing, then like
you can pivot,
switch, and you can pivot and you can take the other victory.
Then in the individual tasks, it'd be really cool. Like that in Too Deep, there is a choice of the reward system. Like if you're gonna try to do it the proper way, you get less rewards, but it's easier. Maybe the victory is closer. But if you do it the bad way, you get more rewards, making your journey easier, quicker, or whatever. But ultimately, you're going to bring about the end of mankind. It's still a victory. You're the one. You get credited with the kill. You're the one that ruined Earth.
Yeah, there's potential no matter which way we want to go with that, but I feel like not forcing it to be one thing only means you're not necessarily competing for the same resources.
So let me run through the rest of what I've got, and then we'll circle back on. We can circle back on any and everything. So for
just
gameplay,
saying things out loud so I don't forget them.
Right. So gameplay, as of this point, game board with cars or some kind of a car marker.
Right.
And that got me thinking this could be our worker placement game. Because worker placement games, like In Too Deep is a worker placement game.
It is.
We've always enjoyed them when we played them.
All the workers are in place already. You just move them around.
Yes.
Well, that's the placing part.
But they all have special abilities that contribute to your victory and move your game forward. So, like, I think that worker placement games have morphed a little over the years, and the workers that you're placing are a bit more interactive now.
I'm okay with that.
It also means that we can have potentially elements of movement, which I know Raymond is a fan of. elements of movement within a game. I'm a fan of. You guys both played the Deadlands, and I think you like a little movement in games as well.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
But the beauty of that is, if we're going to have movement, that means we can have some kind of a modular, randomizable play space.
Oh, buddy. Okay, I have to. I'm gonna have to like self-edit on some of this, because some of what you're talking about, and this is not a knock or anything like that. Some of what you're talking about in this has me wanting to cannibalize a game idea that I put forth some years ago.
It kind of feels like that game. Are you talking?
I know
WD.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that idea could easily morph into this or become either.
I mean, if we're okay with that, I'm okay with that.
It's whether or not it was a Chad project or a Foolish Media project.
Was always going to be
where you want to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was always going to be a Foolish Media project.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about.
So yes, we can absolutely
the symbols.
We can absolutely explore that if it's a thing you're comfortable with and like the idea of.
Yeah. Yeah,
we
absolutely.
talked about the icons I used in Fodder Inc. And when we were playing Into Deep, we were like, "Oh, this is a lot like what we did. We love that. This is obviously the way to go." So yeah, I mean, that's just cannibalizing a different idea.
Because
so,
I mean, for that, we've all played.
And there's no reason
games.
they can't exist in both.
Well, and we've played enough games that we know that like you flip over your rule book, there's all the major symbols that you're going to see. You can have player reference cards because those are easy enough. But then, so the idea, something that had come up would be the idea of the cars having potentially different abilities to contribute to the gameplay and add. I think that adds replayability as well.
100%, yes.
So then we had talked about the idea of passengers. The family from Game of Life, but not necessarily a family, because then that gets into the next couple of points. So passengers may contribute to some end of game victory calculation, but conversely, because back before he was Ray, he was Dylan, suggested that maybe you could sacrifice a passenger to get something. So I put the note down. I used very specific wording because I like the word I used. So there may be some means by which you can sacrifice a passenger for some in-game boon.
Yeah. I mean, everything's a resource.
Paying resources for a reward or a goal. Yeah.
Like whether it's
you lose access to a certain resource, but you gain an avenue of ascension through the story or through the gameplay.
But also, where you sacrifice it could be different depending on what your goal is.
That's definitely something we could add to the complexity.
I picture one of the vehicles being one where you can generate whatever our in-game currency is by sacrificing passengers. I'm thinking it's like a meat wagon.
Okay, I like that.
But the basic idea.
I'm playing the cannibal this time. Damn it!
So you can sacrifice your passenger to get whatever the in-game currency is, which would give you advantages on that front, but would lessen your end of game victory calculation contribution that would come from passengers.
You can't have your people and eat them too. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, you can. It's a choice. Is what I'm saying.
Well, definitely if there's resurrection or
so then,
zombies.
all right. So some ideas that hadn't been shared yet. So you talked about that one. These last ones kind of occurred to me as I was putting all my notes together. But car modification could be a key game component.
That's kind of what I was thinking when we were talking about the different things on the car.
In what ways?
So, like, for the most common, like the familiars, like you could have things like that go onto your reference card that just get added or subtracted as you go along to modify what you can do.
Is there a way to attack other people's vehicles?
Funny you should mention that, because my next point was that we could have some mechanism by which players face off. And then, in quotes, I have think twisted metal. I mean, if we're going to be gearing up cars, there is no reason that they should not be fighting each other.
Well, yeah,
or have the option to.
If we're gearing up cars, I mean, in my mind, this inherently moves towards the movement side of gameplay, because you're going to create, okay, I add this to my car. It can carry less people, but it can move an extra square, or,
I mean, there is, yeah, I see that.
Just make it super simple, but yeah.
So let me posit a couple of ideas here that
go for it.
Were kind of part of my most recent trek through world domination. One of the things I had thought about was, as we are building, a play area. We've seen games that do some sort of like, well, this is this is your play area. This is your person card, that represents that. And we've seen a few games that have like, modular play areas above and beyond that. But what if you're, I am this person participating in this, was a section of the game board that also affected like where you could go, what you could do, like it's part of the game board.
So you are a location rather than
or a set of locations. Like if you think about the game board for Clue,
yeah,
think of it as like, if you're going to be Miss Scarlet, your part of the game board would also include whatever that is right next to her, dining hall or whatever. Like obviously this would be bigger than that,
whatever the fuck it was.
Game location wise, but that kind of idea where you are, by
maybe
who you choose.
That's part of the movement thing, is like you got to venture out into the world to gather resources or to hazard other players, but then to trigger your master plan, you got to bring it back home.
Right.
Okay. So then
it's just
okay. And kind of building off of your idea, I mean, if you're going to be a tied in some way to a physical location, that's your start space.
Correct.
Now
we're seeing it.
The question being in a single player or a not full players, what happens to those extra spaces? Is it a modular board like you only use, if you're a solo player, you lose 3 squares, and the squares are the locations? Or is it the same board and you just trek through this other place unmolested?
Go for it.
Go ahead. Okay, so I was originally thinking, like, when I was going down the world domination track, like, you would have a game board and then you would like overlay, I'm playing the crazy freedom-loving fascists, so my map square overlays North America. If we made it something similar to that, but instead of overlaying, it adds that territory, you would want to have some sort of like central hub that you kind of like
Build
wheel and
off
spoke
of.
off of. Yeah. So then your solo solitaire play is then kind of it's a smaller environment because you don't have as many spaces, which also makes the game more manageable for a solo person.
And I think it's easy enough to program in the behaviors by having like that will be something that will take some work.
Yep.
But I look forward to the research on that because that just seems like it's going to be some fun.
That this does bring in an element of balancing, though.
Yeah.
If you're going to make each player a character set to a certain play style or what, then you run into problems with balance. Like, oh, I definitely want to play the cannibals. They always win. Yeah.
Well, okay. To go along with that, something I was thinking of, like thematically, if a bunch of dudes in suits show up at the, punk cannibal camp, it's not going to go well. Like, you're aligned with a certain number of the squares and you're opposed to a certain number of the squares. And if you need to get a resource in one of those squares, you have to do X, Y, and Z extra.
I mean, but there's nothing
have somebody
saying
in your car that does that or something like that. Like, so it's not that one of them is always better. It's just you would be able to get around any of those. It just costs you more resources to do it in an area that you're not aligned with.
Yeah. Think about it like, with your example of, the suit wearing guys are going to have problems at the punk cannibal camp. Well, sure, they're going to have problems until they get outfitted with, impromptu spray can powered bazookas.
Okay. That mount to the top of their car.
Right. And now they don't have a problem dealing with the cannibals because they can kill them from range.
Okay.
I'm
makes
not
me
saying
want to focus on the different faction characters, and I guess kind of harder to see the gameplay without knowing all of those. I like the idea that like there one faction is corporate, the corporation. These are the people who still own the money and who still run the world, or think they do, even though after the apocalypse is hit. And you have the people who have gone total animal. They're the cannibals. You have the religious fanatics.
If we are if we go the route of it being 1 to 5 players, and looking at other games, there's usually 2 to 4 beyond what you're using in a given game. So extra options would exist.
Yeah, I'd say if we're doing 1 to 5 players, I think we would probably want to have, I would say 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my thought
then
was
that ultimately makes every game unique because it depends on which 5 were in there.
Right.
There could be other players of those factions that you can pick up and put in your passengers. You just don't get the same starting benefit. So you can go in this area if one of your passengers is part of that faction. But having to pick up that person from that faction is one person you can't get from a different faction. So it's still resource management. It's just, what
Costs
factions
you
do you
more.
need? What do you got to do?
Yeah.
And then maybe you have to sacrifice one of those people to be able to free up enough space to do a different job.
So, question, and this is mainly because the only worker placement games I've ever played, I've played with you guys. Does the worker that we are placing have to be meeple, so to speak?
No.
No, I mean
Okay.
it can be a like a die cut cardboard punch out.
Well, I was thinking
It'll
like
just be a circle marker on the board. Like, it doesn't have to be anything
I mean,
more
yeah,
than
Well, I
what
was
you want it to be.
it could just be
could the
a colored marker of some sort.
yeah, and then like we could have a deck, so to speak, of like workers to place.
Right.
Okay.
I think the whole deck should, like, there can be multiple decks if need be, but like the deck should be what attaches to your vehicle to give you the extra people, the extra guns, the extra resources, so that you have a physical representation of it in front of you as well.
Right.
For people
Like,
that
I
don't
have
want to have
some-
to track things on spreadsheets during the middle of a game.
Right. I have some thoughts on how to build your car.
Yeah.
But that's really gonna come down to like, okay, what are production costs? What's our budget?
And if we limit it to, if we limit the car to basically just your mode of movement, it isn't necessarily a car, but then we can have a Road Warriors type faction.
Yes.
Possible.
Hey,
Yeah.
So,
You
all
know,
right.
they're really good at movement, but they're not good at much else.
Okay. I need to address a point that Raymond made a minute ago, and then what you just did, Chad. Raymond. Second point to your concern about balance.
Yeah.
The campaign for North Africa.
Nah, I figured this would come up eventually.
You monster. But I love you for
How
it.
is that? Is that an argument against balance or for?
No, that is because famously that game was never able to be play tested, and the publisher said, "Well, what if we get complaints?" And the designer said, "Just tell them they played it wrong and to do it again."
That's awesome business sense. Hence, there's 7 copies in the world, and only one of them's been played, and it's on a sitcom.
I mean, there's more than 7 copies.
Right. And then, Chad,
Yes.
to your point, fuck. Okay. Give me like 5-second recap. What was the last thing that you were talking about?
I was talking about the design elements of the car.
Yes. Okay. Production costs. That was
Correct. Yes.
so. When it finally comes time to look at it, what we're going to look at, we're going to look at names for components. What those components end up being. When it finally comes time, I'll run the numbers for a variety of options.
Okay.
If we go with this, the cost is this. If we go with like punch outs, cost is this. If we go with just using like just cards, cost is cost is X for this, cost is Y for this, cost is Z for this. If we go with this route, and just looking at the different options to find us the price points that we can work with, and to potentially find us stretch goals for upgrades.
Yes. Okay. Because
I do have one art request.
Sure.
And this only comes from playing Into Deep and knowing how often we mistook the individual characters for another character. Is
they need to be real unique.
Clear and obvious color highlights to differentiate these different factions. So it's impossible to mistake one for another.
So you're telling me that I'm going to doodle bob draw one of the factions
you're
for us?
You're going to play the purple faction. It's going to be Purple Nightmare. Yeah. And
okay, but I'm going to doodle bob draw them.
If you must.
Okay.
I mean, we just, as long as we have the correct background color for the different things, then
but yeah,
eight colors is not hard.
I mean,
to
if it's a meeple or just those little cubes, whatever, they just need to be Roy G. Biv or and black.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, totally.
just completely identifiable. And something you can see it from across the table. Because what I was thinking to cut down on element costs, maybe you have a puck, like those little hexagons we had in that game, to represent you on the board, but then you have a card in front of you that represents what's on in that puck.
Right.
So
That's what was in my head as we were talking.
You look at Ray's card, and he has 3 things on there.
I thought,
I think we're all on the same page on that one.
Yeah, I don't want a little square that I have to stack cubes on and then move it around the board. Every time I touch it, it falls apart.
No, I envisioned, I'm going to use a lot of game references here. I envisioned something very much like Into Deep with the movement element, but very much also like role player in the character building element. Like as far as...
Are those dials also?
Card development. No dials. We won't... Where we're going, we won't need dials.
God damn it. I did not put a dial in that...
Card holders with a dial on it. That sounds awesome.
There's no dial
I was thinking. I was thinking if we did a card holder like that as like a stretch goal, we could probably find someone who could do like an inset decal to place on those.
Yeah.
We'd have to look at it and do some things.
For a small investment of the sticker printer with the cutting out feature thing.
Cricut?
Yeah, Cricut. Yeah. We can make them ourselves.
Correct. I don't know if we would want to do that past prototyping, but we figure that out.
If you want to figure out how to use it, I do have a Cricut.
Yeah, we have other uses for it too.
Alternatively, depending on the quantity, we might be able to go through who we went for the stickers.
Okay.
Yeah, just depends on how much stuff we want to assemble ourselves versus.
I don't think there's ever a time where we're going to bitch and moan about having to put our own games together to ship out.
No, I'm 100% fine with that. It's just
Yeah.
We've done card games only, so it's been easier.
But yeah, I mean, okay. So to recap here, we're thinking about a worker placement game. We're thinking about a worker placement game that's going to have a potentially modular game board. There's going to be some meeples and some cards that represent the people that end up in your car.
Less a come to Jesus, more a Jesus come to me game.
Yes.
Well, depending on what you're trying to do.
True.
Right. Alternate paths to victory. Now, question that I would have, and this may seem silly, but I've played a handful of games that have solitaire aspects to them, and there's been a couple of games that had multiple win conditions for multiplayer, but one win condition for solo play.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've only played one game that had multiple win conditions for solo play.
Okay. So
and
are you advocating for one over the other?
Okay, I'm saying that if we do a multiple win conditions for solitaire, it needs to feel tight and good. It cannot.
Well, that kind of
short.
I think the reason being is in solo play, you're playing against a AI deck or set of circumstances. In order to program that to thwart multiple avenues in which you're attacking, that becomes very robust.
Yes, it does.
And I feel like this is where the modular board could come in, because you flip over the scenario or whatever it is for your solo play, and certain areas of the game board might be off limits because of whatever events.
Okay.
So we keep saying modular game board, an alternative and something that we have seen, double-sided game board. One side could be for 1 to 3 players, and the other could be for 4 or 5. Or
Sure,
the one
I
could
don't
be,
mind that.
or the one could be for 1 to 2 players, and then the other side is for the 3, 4, 5, or whatever. I mean, that becomes an option as well. I know that is a cost-cutting measure.
Yeah.
It
depends on how much you want to be able to change the board itself, because if we're making a lot of changes available, then, placing basically a tile on top of the game board in a certain section is not as hard. But if we don't want to do too much of that, then double-sided board is the good way to go.
Right. And there is some precedence to having, something double-sided like that. One of our favorite multiplayer games has an aspect of that. So, I'm totally down for it.
all right.
So I've been the whole time we're talking here, I've been jotting down like faction ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like a corporation.
What do you got?
Corporation, the military, anarchists / cannibals. They just want to burn the world. Religious fanatics. One I just wrote science, and I'm thinking like these are the people who see this as the apocalypse happened. They see this as a hands off. Let's start experimenting on people. Mutants, weird shit. Road warriors. That's exactly what you
You
picture.
are going faster than I can type, Ray.
I got it written down. Sorry. Road warriors. These are just people that are enjoying the wasteland and are up for whatever. I see them as kind of the jack of all trade kind of group. Their gimmick is movement. So however you want to solve the problem. Then I have environmentalists, hippies, like they see this as a reset for nature. The world collapsed. Let's do it right this time. And then I don't have an eighth idea. I can see an eighth one.
The libertarian survivalist people.
Ooh,
preppers.
God, what the preppers?
Yeah, the preppers.
That's it.
Because maybe they start with a bonus resource or two because they've been prepping, but everybody hates them because they're fucking insufferable.
And they're typically solitary. They are only allowed to have like 1 or 2 things in their car.
Right.
They only got so many supplies to go around.
If somebody's in your car, they only last 3 turns because they get out.
People
that don't know you.
God, I think that's a great mechanic, not just for them, but like if you think about it, like okay, let's just kind of hypothetically riff on the factions here real quick. Like the science people are probably to hang out with the religious people for very long.
No,
before the religious people are like, yeah, no, fuck you. So like if we
the science people might tolerate the environmentalists for a bit.
Sure.
I think you can create these guys and almost create a pie wheel for each one that shows them and maybe who they're more likely to work with. So a pie graph, you have like I don't know 40% the hippies and the science get along, but they really hate the military and they really hate corporate, kind of thing. So that's just like a little sliver. So just to represent who they'll allow in their car, and maybe that represents like how many turns they're allowed to keep them in their car.
So we talked about something early on as like the color wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can we lean into that a little bit and use like the graphic design color wheel to kind of charted out so that, you know, complementary colors are complementary factions. And
Oh yeah, that'd
clashing.
We
be
could
easy.
do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Complementary, or you know, like blue and orange get along,
Right.
but you know, blue and yellow kind of clash a bit.
Like,
then-
and I think about it. I think about it that way for a couple of reasons. Number one, it does alleviate some concerns for our potentially colorblind audience by doing this.
Okay.
It also it helps reinforce you know, color design and that kind of stuff. And I know that's a thing that I enjoy. I know it's a part of your job. I don't know if you enjoy it or not, but it just seemed like a, you know,
kinda
like a really
I'm seeing like your home dial now, and oh god, yes. So it could be divided into like 8 pi, I don't know, 20 slots around the outside of it. You know, so your picture your guys in the middle, and around the outside is so many things. So the hippies might have 4 spaces available for the science people, but they only have 1 for the military. So that's all you can have, a max of that 1 in your car, or maybe none. You know, maybe that's the trade-off of playing one you can't work with another one. And even though we're playing with 3 players, and depending on what faction they use, all those tokens are on the board to be collected and resourced.
interesting.
I think if possible, like certain ones could count as 2 because they're super fanatical or super annoying.
You could.
So they occupy 2 slots instead of 1, but that would be on their card itself.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to do the fanatical religious people in there if you're sciencey. Like you can only have 1, and this guy counts as 2 because he's super crazy about it.
He's super douche.
So he's already off limits for you.
All right. So a point that that Dylan made earlier about the clock, the four seals or whatever, like something needing to happen. The idea of a partial board reset after each one is opened.
I like that in Too Deep, how you
like there's
you had a breath in the middle.
Keep, there are certain things that you absolutely keep, certain things that become optional to keep because maybe there's some sort of negative association with it.
Well, keep in theme with this game, certain things you sacrifice for an advantage in the next round.
Yes. Like, yeah.
You've collected 3 military. Fuck those guys. Now you got guns.
So, but that kind of an idea. And if you haven't seen it, Chad, then that just means that we've got games to play, friend.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
I know it's awful having to play games for actual work purposes.
For research?
Right. It's research.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I think all of these, like, this is very much something where half of these will be expanded and half of these will go away in playtest, but
sure.
I think all of these are good ideas to start with and see how we can work it in. Because, like, the same thing we're talking about the clock, that's when, like, these factions might be closed off before the first one happens, and then once that happens, suddenly these factions are available to be used, and it also stops you from having paralysis on, well, where do I want to start? I got to do 8 things. I'm only 1 person.
Right.
I look forward to making icons for each one of these little factions.
Ray is already like, let's fucking go, guys.
I do as well. I mean, and
this is what you do. This is the only. I mean, this is why O'Cluck was designed before it was playtest.
And I love that way. I love that, like, all of the factions that you gave and this is an actual thing I really appreciate. The naming that you gave them is really generic, which gives us tons of yeah, because it's like it's like corporation. Cool. Who wants to play corporation? Obviously, they're going to have some kind of a name. And the same with like, I mean, I see just bizarre, strange, potentially offensive names for all of these groups. I am seeing at least 2 decks of cards. Or at least 2 piles of cards. Again, a lot of what we're going to have at this point, it's all working fucking terminology.
Sure.
But your Trials and Tribulations is its own deck, and it's small cards.
Yes.
We've all seen the small cards in games, so that's not a real stretch.
As long as the paperweight is thick enough that those little cards don't take too much damage.
I agree. We would definitely want to make sure that we're designing something.
They're sturdy, because the littler they are, the more they get beat up and shuffling and all that shit. So they kind of.
Honestly, I was thinking a higher end medium weight with a linen finish.
Sure. I was just thinking there should be a resource deck too, like you one of the rewards, or you do something, you get to draw a resource, and it might not be something you can use because you don't have one of those faction guys, one of that faction in your car. So now you go looking for a military dude so you can use the tear gas.
That could also be just a pool of random tokens as well.
True.
Yeah, I was going to say now we're getting into the shopping section where you flip up number of players +1 cards, and based on whatever the turn order is going to be that round, you take the resource that you want.
Hypothetically.
This is all hypothetical at this point.
Right. So if we go with the like hub and spoke style, modular game board where central section and then, people playing add on to that game board.
The central section should be like no man's land where you're like totally at risk.
Well, if you kind of set it like in the apocalyptic, excuse my term here, Weird West, in the center section, borrowing from Deadlands for a moment, is Gamora and in the immediate surrounding stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, you're bolting on like a ranch or this or that or the Collegium thing or whatever. Like you could have different shops and whatnot that end up with some sort of resource that you would then need to move to go collect.
Yeah.
And
like
maybe
need water too, so they need some kind of purifier. So they got to move over to the science guys to get a purifier. Then they got to get it home without the road warriors stealing it. Kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
So, the building of the game board. I keep coming back to an idea. Because you're saying we build off of the center. What if building the game board is a part of the game itself? Like it's not like yes, it's set up, but there's strategy to it because every player has a part or has some contribution that they're making to the board game setup. Because you say build off the center, and the first idea that comes to my mind is, if somebody places one on the center, does everybody, like, do all the places build off of the center? Or can, like, if you build something that's to the north, can I glom onto that on the opposite side?
It's a good question.
Not without conflict. Or maybe like the idea you have to have so much goodwill with that group. Like, the hippies can glom on to the who did I say they got, the religious people, because they get along. But the military isn't going to tolerate you attaching anything to their territory. It'll cost you something more.
Well, if they can defend it.
Well, if it's just in game setup, I like your idea, Ray.
What?
The a faction that you have positive relations with, being where you could build on.
And then you have the thing where, okay, I'm building on to my people I'm goodwill with, but the opposite side of me is people I don't get along with. So now
you just can't build on. You can't build off of those. You can build off yourself and the people you get along with. I think that adds an element of strategy to the whole thing.
My only concern with that, let's say we're playing a 3-player game for a second.
Okay.
And that 3-player game, using the examples that Ray has laid out, one person is playing hippies, one person is playing the religious people, and one person is playing the scientists.
Okay.
They all get along.
No, they wouldn't all get along.
Okay. I think you're trying to. I think you're trying to pose a scenario where it's 3 groups that don't get along.
No, it's 3 players and 2 groups do and 1 doesn't.
Okay,
that's worse. Yeah,
I think part of the board is still going to be the remaining factions, whether or not you're playing them.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to be out there.
Okay, I just
not be every one of them, but
I just want to make sure that we're not designing ourselves into a hole where our players are fucked.
Well, I think it's kind of like the Into Deep, where it was 2 players, but we had 5 factions out there to move around. So we have 8 total. If we max out 5 players, all 8 will be used to ensure that everybody has a friend, or somewhere sort of safe they can land. But if it's like 3 players, you only use 5.
I mean, if we're really worried, you could just have 3 players can use any combination of, any of these 5 faction combinations to start the game with.
You just said out loud what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just say, like, hey, if you want 3, you can do this set of 5, this set of 5, this set of 5, this set of 5. And then it's not entirely unfair. There'd be, 2 you're aligned with, 2 you're against for every person.
Okay.
Our recommended setup.
That's just a setup requirement then, and that way nobody starts out at a huge disadvantage.
Or everybody picks the one they want to play, and then it tells you, okay, with those 3, these are the ones you add. So we'd have to
have it all laid out to see what the color wheel looks like, but I feel like we could find a way to do that.
I think there are easy enough workarounds.
Okay.
And the other thing that makes me feel really good about this, as something that we can do, a lot of the games that I've been picking up lately, the rule books are like 8 pages.
Right. I mean,
and
most of the rules are on the cards.
Yeah, it's a medium weight game, and it's a medium weight game
like
with 2 hours play time, and it's like the rule book tells you what you need to know to play. The cards tell you everything else.
And I totally think we could get to that.
Okay.
Like, we can have multiple sections of things on the cards that, once again, like we liked in all those other ones, where there's feathers, there's eggs, there's this box over here can be used if you need to, determine the outcome of something. Like,
ooh, and because I
we can use the cards to make the decisions.
And because I suggested every time we're designing a game, we could put pips on the cards.
Right. Because I know you like to suggest that.
Every fucking time.
It's a good idea.
If the need arises, or some kind of random, rather than a dice roll, flip a card.
I also like the idea of there's less of a barrier to fight somebody else in the middle. So, like, if you have to travel through the middle to get to another area for whatever your goal is, like, you're more open to
It's
being
neutral
attacked
ground,
as
yeah.
opposed to. Well, no, it's it's neutral, but not. It's
more like an
violent.
arena.
Yeah, it's no man's land, so it's lawless. Sorry,
Right.
not neutral.
Yeah, it'd be like the cornucopia in Hunger Games. Like, there's some resources there, but you're gonna fight everyone for them.
Well, you can find every type of resource there, but it's going to be dangerous getting home with it.
Yeah, like there could be certain runs that you got to be able to do to complete some part of it. And
Okay.
once again, all this would also work with just the post-apocalypse and not the Jesus, but some of the flavor helps, especially with the solo clock and things like that.
Yeah, I think either bringing about absolute Armageddon or bringing about humanity's survival is the two choices. I do think, Jeff, there needs to be some kind of sentinel element, something that is opposing the players. Just
It's some
that
sort
isn't
of
being controlled by, isn't necessarily being controlled by the players, but can be manipulated by the players.
okay.
Just like block you put up to keep, I blow up a bridge to keep the road warriors away. I set up an EMP to keep the military out, kind of thing.
I mean, we could have militias as like a roving wild card.
Ooh, yeah. I like that.
Because they're separate from the military and they're separate from the preppers. But there's always post-apocalyptic random bands of thieves and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just the wild cards that pop up on occasion and do something.
Yeah, add that to the bottom of the list of groups.
It could be our version of mayhem cards.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't want them to be a full faction, but they would be able to.
Right.
Yeah, you don't play as the militia. They are there to take from everybody.
Those could be in and a part of the trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like
you
the
draw
militias
that
in this
and
space.
you add a militia to the board. Oh shit. Now it's like if I go through there I have to fight them.
Or even like they blockaded this area, it's off limits for one turn.
Yeah. Or move the militia to this location.
We could do that. We could have one, and then maybe there's another card that introduces a second one for a certain number of turns at a time. Like that way, there's always one, but sometimes there's more.
Oh, and then something like some kind of alliance with the militia for a turn. Like you get to use them to. You sacrifice them instead of your own troops to accomplish a goal.
Give them resources to pass through without having to fight. Like that type of, it costs resources, but you could still move through the area. It's just everything should be.
You have to pay them off.
Trading resources for results.
Yeah, I think the wild card edition will help both in the like 3-player game, 2-player game, as well as the solo play, because then there is this active thing going on that's getting in their way.
Because that way, if somebody gets too far ahead, they could still get foiled by some element of randomness. I mean, I'm not trying to completely wreck somebody's game, but also like
that was also why
be done turn 2.
That was also why I was suggesting the partial board reset, because with the partial board reset, it can help keep somebody from getting that monumental lead.
Right. Well, and that could be like, phase 2, there's an additional militia on the board. In phase 3, there's a third militia on the board. Like, the roving bands could get worse as it goes on and cause more hazards as it gets more difficult. And maybe they don't do that if Like there's not as many of those if you're in solo play.
So there's going to be an element of conflict resolution. Is it an actual combat? You have to like roll dice, or reveal pips, or discard cards, or discard things you have on your side in your car, etc.
I think it'd be a combination. We could have like a power type thing on, like a total power, and you can discard resources to add to the power, and you also get to flip, the pips on one or two cards or whatever it is that you do. Kind of like
maybe on that
L5R
home
used to be.
board, like the hippies have a one cube or one meeple equals one, because they're not good fight. But the military, one meeple equals two. So like in conflict resolution, they can sacrifice half as many people to win a conflict.
Or that would work. Or even one of them can have, instead of being better at fighting, you get to draw one less pip card to add to your total if you're fighting them.
Yeah, and you draw less trials or tribulations. The religious people don't get as many of those because they're on the side of the gods. But
I mean, it could be a matter of like somebody resource denial as opposed to
resources. They always draw one more resource when collecting.
I think that the sacrificing of passengers, there should always be something positive that happens for the player. There should be like
that's a currency. Yeah,
regardless of anything else that happens, you get X currency.
Yeah, I agree.
And everybody gets the same amount. Because I think that just becomes balanced at that point.
Just like a straight discard for two resources type of thing, like the worst case.
Yes,
because that would also help if we were doing like time limits on how long somebody can stay in your car. If you don't have a good use for them, you can still discard them before they go away on their own, because you didn't have anything better to use them for.
Right.
And I can almost see the sacrificing of passengers as a turn, as a phase within a turn.
Okay.
Like you go
movement.
As one of the
resources.
As one of the later things that you do in your turn. Because I think that helps create some balance as well. Because if I sacrifice my guy this turn, and maybe I'm doing something that's going to get me a whole bunch of extra shit out of it, that's going to set up my next turn. I'm not going to get to, which gives everybody an opportunity to react in advance and maybe alter their own plans before coming back to me and being able to capitalize on what I've just done.
Like it could happen right before the cleanup step on every turn.
Yeah. Like, are you sacrificing somebody or not? And it can certainly, I think, be perfectly optional.
Yeah. There should be a generic amount that you get no matter what, just because sometimes you would have to get rid of passengers because they're going to leave anyway. But also, depending on what you're doing, we can get crazy with something like if you sacrifice certain types of passengers, maybe the militia get.
Oh, maybe you get kicked off of Discord.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, you sacrifice a road warrior and you can move through no man's land a little faster or safer.
Yeah, I don't know what I
piggyback
said
on that idea. Yeah, no, I was just kind of like adding to I think your train of thought there, like getting rid of a road warrior lets you move through no man's land, unmolested.
Right. But also, like if you sacrifice a certain one, maybe the militia gets stronger.
Maybe it isn't like you're adding a dude to your car. It's more like those represent your relationship to the other group. Like to
I think it
move
could be
through here,
both.
you have to have 2 of these pips on your character, because otherwise we don't like you enough to allow that. And if you do move through here, conflict.
Well, and I also think there should be an alternative, like, say if it's a combination of 3, and if you have one of those guys, it counts for 3, but you can have, or 2 of those guys, it might count as 3, but one of those guys and this resource would also work. Like, there's got to be more than one combination, rather than just pick up the guy, walk through the area, nothing else I have to do. But they should count as like double or triple resource-wise in those areas.
Yeah, how you're picking up people from other factions is the question. Is it just like on you have a purchase turn, you purchase, or you influence or befriend or whatever we're going to call it, one of these. I add it to my car and now I can move. And like the hippies have +1 with the science. So if I add a science, it actually is 2 and I can move through their thing.
That's where I think the opening round, like we flip up X+1 or X+2 cards, and then you can basically draft them as the first phase.
Like
so
who
if
you're
you get the right card that pops up,
yeah,
it should be first, because you may not go to a certain area, but a card might pop up that's going to make it easier, and you're like, cool, I can do that now.
That's a good point.
Because you can plan everything you want, but if it's not going to work unless the right guy pops up next turn, then you got to make a backup plan.
Yeah, I think the guys will just be in a pool, and there'll be so many available. There's only so much influence that anyone can have with, the anarchists. So, there's only 8 pips. So if Chad has 3 of them and I only have 2 and I need 3, I gotta somehow get one from Chad. Kind of that hooking thing.
The idea of having them be temporary passengers. Some of the the temporary passengers, you lose when the soft reset happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, when you're going to lose them.
Okay. So you can lose them before then, but you're definitely going to lose them on the reset.
Right.
And also you're going to lose them when you use them as currency to perform or accomplish anything.
But with there also being like specific criteria that sets up the seal cracking to do the soft reset. I mean that's an opportunity to fuck somebody else over.
Yeah.
And that
it'd
helps
be cool if there was
people from getting too far ahead.
Yes.
It'd be cool if there were certain game mechanics that aren't in the gameplay until like the first seal is broken. Like maybe after the first seal was broken, relations between all the factions get a little better or a little worse because everybody's panicking. Your borders are a little chaotic and undefended because shit went down.
Like it might cost 1 additional resource to make deals with factions that are against you, type of thing.
Yeah. And then
like there
maybe
could be a blanket like everything
the last
where
phase,
it's like
you just can't get along with so and so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I want to completely shut it out. I still think like you can pay more and more resources for it to happen.
Ooh, what if there was a way to? It's not gain favor, but gain hostage. You forcibly take favor with another group, and it costs you more to do that because you're doing it. Like I captured your dude, let us go through, and you can have him back. And then like immediately just for that one action on the board, you have to get rid of that thing. So that when you get to the task you're trying to accomplish, you don't have that currency anymore because you had to give it up just to get through their yard.
I also like the idea of if you destroy or, make an attack on some faction that's on the board type of thing, maybe you get to take one of their characters from the discard pile and add it to your thing as like a hostage.
Yeah.
That way the whole discard pile's in use and you don't have to wait for everything to cycle back through.
I mean, it's apocalypse.
We could also reshuffle everything.
Nice.
Right. We could also have a reshuffle when the board resets type of thing, depending on how many cards we need to have in there. Because I feel like the deck should reshuffle regardless if you get to the bottom, but I think there should be ways to get stuff out of the graveyard, and then it resets all of it in between phases anyway. But yeah, it allows like a little, you can control a little more of the randomness if I have to go here and do this because I need one of these people and there wasn't one on the board this turn, but I can go get one out of the discard if I attack this.
Yeah. It's like somebody,
I feel like this is
maybe when you lose them or they are used as currency, they end up in no man's land, and another player could pick them up from there. And if you pick them up from no man's land, it's like you captured them. They are not your friends. They are just in your control. I don't know. I guess I'm playing the game in my head, trying to see how these things would happen.
That's okay. I'm randomly thinking about faction abilities.
As long as the hippies have an ability to not bathe and gain hostility against someone else.
I'll be right
Hostile
back.
hygiene.
My doorbell just rang.
That's strange.
At 9:30 at night, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Would you like to buy some meth to support local children?
No, it's the children looking to buy meth. I mean,
They're just knocking on the wrong house.
yeah.
Where's my meth man?
Dude, that's 2 doors down. Oh, right. Thanks, man. You got a lighter?
Yes, I feel like this is either going to be... It's going to look so convoluted, but I really do think it's going to play very intuitively once we have everything written down on cards.
Yeah, I think it can be simple. It's just a matter of, chess moves of,
right,
having the
so
right
much of the
thing in your
games we
bag
play,
and moving, to the right spot.
right. So much of what we play is simple to start, more complex because of what the cards do. So, that's how you make it more complex, not because the rules are 12 pages longer.
Right.
Yeah.
I did like the idea in Too Deep that you do certain things, and once you get to a certain number of things you've done, that triggers the next chapter. And it's less a clock, and it's more of a who gets these things done.
Yeah, I mean, there should be cumulative bonuses for the end game that you can collect in the different stages, but not enough to outright run away with it. Like if you did fantastic in 2 of the 3 stages, you should be at an advantage at the end, but you shouldn't be the only person there with an advantage. Like, depending on what you're doing.
Did he come
I don't
back
know.
yet?
All right.
Yeah, I'm
I
back.
heard a mumble.
What was it?
We'll talk after.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
The most non-thing.
Neighbor's cat.
Oh, if only.
So yeah, now we just gotta now it's a matter of like, what are the tasks you're completing? You know, what are they getting you? Why do you want to complete them? I mean, each faction could have its own win condition. You know, like on their little card, like if you accomplish this, you know, you open the first seal. If you do this, second seal opens.
yeah, I do think there should be different goals for each faction.
And maybe
But-
it's a religious theme for the religious faction. Like they're open to seals, but the scientists are I don't know, launching probes into space. What are they doing? They're not going to be trying to accomplish the same goals.
Well, I also think it shouldn't be the only way for your faction to win, because I don't want it to be the same goal every time that you're going for. Like maybe the religious fanatics find out there's a false prophet and they want that guy to go instead, and like,
Or or we leave it vague and it's just like they get their goal. They reach their thing. Yeah, let the player interpret it. However,
Right.
But there's two ways to do it. You can decide if this was a good way or a bad way.
Your lord is in another castle.
All right. So here's an idea I'm going to throw out there. What if we look at for end of game some means by which we calculate victory, some sort of victory point total, and as a contribution to that, each faction has some secret goal that they're attempting to accomplish. This is like 3 ideas, but it all ties together. And then for the secret goals, that could be its own subsection of cards. Everybody gets a couple at the beginning of the game. We're all familiar with games that do this kind of a mechanic. And everybody picks their own secret goal. And if you accomplish your faction's secret goal, that gives you X victory points at the end of game.
I like that.
So you're secretly picking out of 2 out of 4 or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So each faction has their own goals, or is it just like
I was thinking
like those
I was thinking
things we get in Dicks and Wizards?
I was thinking more Dicks and Wizards, a generic kind of a pool.
Okay.
That way, the cannibals.
We don't have to have
the cannibals could be going for the political victory this time, but next time they could be going for the more aggressively combat oriented victory.
Everybody loves a good cannibal. Yeah. So the opening the seals is basically the clock.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean that's how you establish the soft resets, and when you would finally start calculating for victory. So the clock is what
as the world ends, who's in charge?
Well, okay, so that you've created more ideas with that one. What gets us to the point of,
was it?
what gets us to the point of breaking one of those seals, and then when we get to the point of breaking the seals, what are we calculating so that when we go into the next phase, the player who performed the best gets some kind of advantage?
Or the player who performed the best being the one who brought about the seals breaking the
Or-
most
Or maybe
is not rewarded, but
not fucked.
Yeah, maybe breaking the seals is a side effect of what we're trying to do. Basically, live in the apocalypse. Oh shit, we did this. The seal broke up. Oh, that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing for everybody. But my bad, guys. Next round they lose something.
It could be a resource pool that depletes through the phase and resets at the beginning of the next.
We could also, it doesn't have to be every seal, because I think there's 7. Like we could do 2 seals, new phase, 2 seals, new phase, 2 seals, and then the final seal. But that way there could be something that happens when the first one opens in the turn, but it doesn't end until the second one opens. But it's not like somebody fast-tracked the seal and now the turn's ending immediately, like type of thing.
Yeah, I like that. Like
there's one seal down, and now you're kind of in a rush to get through this phase, or you might lose your thing, and you might make some different decisions because turn's half over, kind of. Even though
if there's 7, we could have,
Well, 7 only matters if we're keeping it religious.
Yeah, we could have 3, 2, 1 seals, and then the final seal is that is still not broken, but the door's opening, and oh shit, here we are. Game over, everyone.
I mean, in that regard, then we would need to add the extra seals because it could just be like, this is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean.
So your 4th seal is actually the 7th.
Yeah. And like I think there should also be some way to win if you prevent all the seals from being open, but I don't know if that's worse for.
Is there a way to reseal one of these, or is it always broken?
Well, like, say if this event hasn't happened when the seal goes off, then this faction gets an extra point type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you prevented something from happening before the seal went off that your faction wants, because, like, your little cards at the beginning that you pick could have 3 things.
You could have a different
in phase
one
1, if you do this, you get an extra point. In phase 2, if you do this and this, you get 2 extra points of victory. And like,
I think you should have one of those.
It doesn't have to be just a one resolution
per chapter. You could have
right,
one
but
of those
I'm saying like
gain point victory points each chapter. Like shit, I didn't do it. Goes back in the pile.
They could have a different goal for each chapter, all on the same card. You'd pick multiple at the beginning, but like you'd have bonus points possible in all 3 phases. Okay. Based on whether or not you met the criteria of that, but you got 2 cards, so you got basically 6 chances to get bonus points.
I get you.
I'm just trying to get the resources down as close, because like I do want those to be secret at the end of the game. I don't want those to be revealed at the end of each round where somebody's like, oh, well, now I can't win because it's too far out of hand.
So we have a deck with so we have a hand of cards that we're using, or is it just like we have a couple cards in our hand that say
I think your hand of cards is effectively your car.
Yeah, I am envisioning. I'm kind of envisioning everybody has X number of activations in a turn.
Okay.
You could get 1 activation per passenger.
Thus incentivizing you to keep them. Maybe not for each passenger, but maybe
for each unique passenger.
Or if you've got 2 passengers, you get you start off with a base number of activations, one, but
Right.
say one or two, and then your first two passengers get you an extra one. Your next two get you another one on top of that. And then, like, if you've got 5 and 6, like, if you could have 6 passengers, maybe your 5th one gets you the next action, and the 6th one would get you an additional one on top of that. Because at that point, you're committed to keeping those motherfuckers alive.
True.
And you determine your number of actions at the beginning of your turn.
Yes.
And then by the end of your turn, you might not have that many next time. Might blow your wad in one turn, and the next turn you're, starting rebuilding.
Which I think builds balance as well.
I mean, alternative to that, if that doesn't work out, because I just don't want a situation where somebody gets too far ahead on things because they went that route. Like, you could have a certain number of actions per turn, but you get better quality actions if you've got 5 printed actions to choose from instead of only what's in your resource or the basic action. Like, having more passengers gives you more tools in your toolkit, not necessarily more chances at it.
You could also have things on your car that, like, if the military has science, 2 scientists or 2 reputation with their science, they can do this. They can make nuclear bombs. They can up their military game. If the road warriors have the preppers, then they get electric cars or something. I don't know.
I mean, I still think you should get. I like the extra actions for extra things, but up to a point, and then it's just.
I think it should reward, like that isn't like number of actions. That's just like variety of actions, I guess. If you have these here, that meets requirement. Now you as a faction, with the help of this other place, can do this.
Right.
So maybe that give you a little flavor of the other group.
Rule so rule book actions.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, predefined in the rules. These are like X number of passengers are needed to do this.
Yeah.
And there wouldn't even need to be many.
No. Like an extra movement. Like the movement in Too Deep was very simplified, because it was only 8 pies or 8 little areas.
8 total areas.
And we're adding the middle, which is like the cut through kind of thing. So you can move 1 square in your movement. You have faction with somebody else. Maybe you can move through their area free.
Well, and like you could have, if everybody gets a move action, one of your passengers can replace your move action with a stronger move action.
Yeah.
Like you both get the same
move and
action.
You get 2 actions.
But they get better economy out of that action because they have a special ability. So you're still getting the benefit. You're still making sure everybody has a chance to move, but this faction just moves slightly better because they got a card. Just to have variety on what actions you can do on a thing. I mean, I think we're all in agreement here. This is just stating nitpicky things out loud.
Yeah. Getting the what to do and who can do it better and what order.
Yeah.
What 3 things trigger this, and et cetera, et cetera.
That's just a matter of setting up some cards and laying them out and seeing what we can do.
And I will come up with icons for everything, so we don't have to write rules on cards.
Yes. Anywhere we can do an icon. I want an icon. And then Yeah, look up whatever the colorblind set of colors would be. Because I think we can have a black one and a white one, and then 7 or 6 colors.
Yeah, I think if we go with a normal color wheel setup, and we just make sure that we keep,
red and green to a minimum.
Well, you keep the complementary colors together. Yes, keep red and green to a minimum. I think we can design something that will be both aesthetically pleasing, and somewhat intuitive in how things go together.
There is a color wheel out there for game design for the colorblind.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
that's 100% what I wanted. I assume we were considering that, but that is what I wanted to consult and use, because I know there is specific design elements for colorblind, like laid out in a chart.
Yeah, I'm okay with
Because
that.
there is no reason not to, and we're starting from scratch here.
Yeah.
Right.
No reason not to be inclusive.
It's still effectively a color wheel. It's just it's not your typical, like it's not the standard colors.
We have teal instead of green.
Right. Yeah, same basic colors. It's just different hues and shades because that's what shows up better.
Right.
Nope, we're good. We all agree there.
Cool.
Right? Does that work for you, Chad?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just, because I know you had that color wheel suggestion, which absolutely makes sense. This is just different colors.
Yeah. No,
different colors, same wheel.
Right. As long as the one thing I'm just trying to make sure we do, make things intuitive based on non-rule, non-type things. The more intuitive that we have, like color schemes and things like that, the easier it's going to be for some people who maybe struggle to read rules and retain things. It'll be easier for them to pick up the game, learn the game, and go along with it. And they won't feel like, well, fuck, I didn't like the rule book, so fuck that game.
Well, and if you set them up in the wheel, then it's going to be like the magic colors. Like the one across from you is against you, and you'll still have a visual representation of that wheel.
One to the right, your best friend. The one to the left, you get along with.
Well, and
well, you'd have to get along with both of them if there's this many.
True.
And I know we keep going back to it as a reference point, but on and the portion of the cards that we've been talking about on In Too Deep, where you could do it a good way and a bad way. The end result of doing it one way versus the other was just a series of symbols with a number over top of them. Like you get one of these, two of these, one of these, and have to do one of these. Like it was beautifully elegant in that regard. It was like it had down at the bottom, like it was just like, if you do it this way, it costs this, and this is what the result is. And
it felt like coming home, because I don't think it's so much us stealing this idea as like, hey, that's just like our idea we had with
I mean, it's very
like,
much in line with
us.
what we've talked about doing in game design in the past.
It's like the next level of something we've already thought of. Yeah.
Okay,
everything in game design is just combinations of previous parts of game design.
I'm truly disappointed that this game hasn't hit the table before, because I really think you guys are going to like it.
Okay, well,
it's very much in line. It's very much in line with the stuff that we do.
Start figuring out a time that we can meet up again. Shouldn't be any more freak snowstorms.
Well, it's almost 10.
It is.
We want to break here, and
that's a solid almost hour and 40 minutes, y'all.
Yeah.
Look at us being cohesive on the same subject.
Fuck yeah. That was goddamn. That's so good.
Hooray for tunnel vision.
Yeah. All right. So, in an effort to become a bit more proper as a podcast, decided I'd go back to adding a little end and not necessarily cutting things after somebody says something shitty. But I still might do that.
Something shitty.
I'm hoping. Yeah, so we're not on all the socials, but I guess we probably could start getting back out there. We'll talk off air about where we want to end up, and then I'll start looking into that.
Come on, Truth Social.
But if you want to listen to us, you can find us fucking everywhere. Just literally everywhere. We're on pretty much every platform now. And if we're not on everywhere, if we are not on a platform, it is not. It was not worth the time to figure out how to get to, because I had to use tutorials for half of them.
I mean, if we're not on the platform you like, how are you listening to us?
I know, that was the thing that confused me, because I always hear podcasts. They're like, you can listen to us on all these platforms. It's like, but I'm listening to you now. If I wasn't, how would I know this? But I feel like it's just a thing they do anyways. Right? Yeah. Like,
I mean, at one point,
weird?
certain ones put you higher in the ranking than other ones, but
yeah.
I don't know how much of a difference that makes these days.
But at the same time, if you're listening to us one way and you'd prefer to listen to us on some different medium, we're probably on that medium now. So, like, if you wanted to listen to us on Apple Podcasts and you're listening to us through Google or iTunes, because somebody fucking downloaded an episode through iTunes last week. I have no idea how. I didn't think iTunes still existed. I thought it was all Apple Podcasts now. Oh,
so like iTunes is different than Apple?
Yeah, they came through as completely separate reference points. It was weird.
But we've been two fools rushing.
Think that we're on somebody's iPad Nano.
Yeah. It also showed that we were downloaded by one Alexa-enabled device.
It seems like it was an error, but
sorry.
but like 90 countries or some shit. It's fucking crazy. So thanks if you've just started listening. Thanks if you've been here the whole time. We will be back next week. We'll continue plugging away on designing this fucking weird ass game that just sounds like a lot of fun now. And
it's gonna be something.
And don't forget to check out our what will be properly posted on a weekend show, because I'm gonna get better about the schedule by which I post the shows. So check out the weekend show if you like D&D and you like people being funny and weird. At this point, hopefully, you've come to expect something from us, and if you haven't, give it a shot. It's not polished. It's real rough. Our production costs are minimal because our production budget is minimal. So we make do with a lot, but it's absolutely worth your time if you're already giving us a chance. Our
production imagination is budget is unlimited.
Now that said, check out our website, foolish.media, no.com.media. You can find a bunch of shit that I've written. You can find the comic. You can find all the stuff about the game that we already have out, O'Clock, and you can find everything else about us. And eventually we'll be bringing an updated site live. But I know that we're still in design on that.
Early days, yeah.
But that is coming, so that's something to look forward to. But again, thank you for giving us a chance, and all four of us have been two fools rushing in.
Very well done, sir.